has believed our report. To whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? He grew up like a tender plant, a root from dry ground, no beauty.
California and New York, corruption in the elections.
Out in Cali, sun shining on the scam, mailing ballots dropping like rain, running up the program. LA to the Bay, harvesting door to door, ghost votes and fake signatures, stacking up the score. New York City never sleeps on the fix. Brooklyn to Albany, ballots in the mix, backdated postmarks, vans in the dead of night, stuffing drop boxes till the count looks just right. Cheating California, cheating New York State, mailing votes, flooding, sealing up their fate. From the Pacific to the Hudson, ballots by the ton. Who needs real voters when the machine gets it done? Mailin', keep the pipeline hot. Two big blue fortresses that never miss a shot. But now the feds are coming, badges flashing bright, DOJ knocking doors in the middle of the night, subpoenas flying for those ballot harvest crews, chain of custody records, they ain't looking too good. FBI vans outside the counting halls, ripping open boxes, matching signatures on the walls. Dead voters getting purged from the rolls at last. Late night dumps exposed, watch the whole thing crash. California dreaming turning into a nightmare scene. New York bosses sweating under federal heat. Yeah, you thought it was secure, thought it was clean, but the feds got the warrants and they're wiping the machine. Harvested ballots, phantom addresses, all on tape. Time to clean it up, boys, no more escape. They were cheating California, cheating New York State, mailing empire crumbling, meeting its fate. Feds coming heavy, cleaning up the mess, flipping all the tables on the blue machine. Success, mailing, game over, stop the rot. Federal cleanup crew connecting all the dots. No more cheating cities, no more rigged up states. The reckoning is here, democracy awakes. Sirens fade out. Clean it up, count it right, lock 'em up tight.
Lock 'em up. All right, welcome again to the Laughing Man Network. So as I was getting ready to look at another video, but apparently that's not going to be starting for a minute. Cash Jordan popped out a new video 25 minutes ago. Those of you that are watching it with me, awesome. Those of you that know the guys should go check them out and see it through them. As you could see, I put all the females that gave citizenship to illegals in our country up on my back screen, and they're going to be there for a while until I figure out what else to put there. You know, we'll listen to this because I am not a fan of communism, and now people are bitching and moaning saying that Colorado just elected communists. I gotta say, man, it's quite funny the way things are going. I mean, is everyone in the news media trying to scare everybody, or are they just trying, in the Supreme Court and the Democrats and the Republicans, are they trying to reform America? I have no idea. I mean, I have to give everything about 3 days before I actually say anything really about it, because I have no idea anymore. Everything is just a joke. News is a joke. Political bullshit is a joke. The world is on fire, or it's not. I have no idea what's going on, and it's really hard to make an opinion on everything, to be honest with you, because you're never gonna know exactly what's happening. And with racism, and then reverse racism, and then people that are born in America and then sent back to their country to be raised in China or whatever, Venezuela, or whatever country it is, just to be brought back here to do some changes in America. I have no idea, you know, how it's gonna work. Grok says that 31% of births are from other nations, and then they're raised in China or whatever country that they came from at that point. Some are brought here, you know. So I have no problem with people coming to America and becoming citizens and having their kids here. I have a big problem with people around the world coming to America and coming here, having a kid, and then taking the kid out of the country. I have a big problem with that. A major problem with that. Like, it makes no sense to me why they would do something like that. Why would you go to have a kid and then come to America, have that kid, and then send it back to the country to be raised there in their politics, and then send that kid back to here? Dude's got dual citizenship at that point. And I'm not okay with that whatsoever. I mean, behoove me to sit there and say, oh, well, you could be good parents, but then we got people that come here from other countries, have dual loyalties for other countries, and then attempt to make our countries a base print for that. So, like this guy Mamdani, right? He came to this country, and he apparently wanted a better life. He's rich, but he's a socialist or a communist, a Muslim. I have no idea, other than the fact that he has an agenda. He has dual loyalties or multiple loyalties, and it's Muslim and communism. And every single person that is getting a rent freeze, from what my opinion is, isn't an American. They're the Muslims and the Somalis and anyone that will support him. It's basically like, hey, you want something from me? I'm gonna need you to show me that you support me. That's what I'm gonna need. So show me your voting roll, my guy. Who did you vote for in the election? Was it me or was it the other guy? And as for the Democrat Party and all this, everyone knew this was going to happen. The Democrats are all over the place. Whether it be for the gays, the LGBTQBYDs, nuts in your mouth, I have no idea. Other than the fact that both sides, or all sides, are looking at this as a major referendum to see who is going to attack who first. And me, I'm just like how I've always been growing up, You come to me to start something, I'm gonna finish it. I don't give a fuck how I have to finish it. My dad taught me the entire world is my weapon, motherfuckers. There's no fair fight in a street fight. It's whatever you can get your hands on or whatever your hands and legs can do to help you win. And for cops, I don't trust you cops. You guys are bitches. Because you side with the person in power, not the Constitution and not the law. And none of you even know the law. You're just who's got the biggest dick mentality. That's how I look at all this. Nothing more, nothing less. Just like the people behind me, the Supreme Court. These people don't care about America. They only care that they're going to go down in history as the ones that helped either save it or destroy it. no matter what. No matter what anyone wants to say, I don't care. I'm not a part of that. I'm sitting here and I'm looking and I'm like, I can't even do certain videos because my brain is so fucking mashed up with so much crap that's going on. And and everything changes left and right. Everything is out there. And there's not a damn thing any of us can do about it because the government and the police and the states, they no longer want us Americans. They want the rest of the world. And I'm over it. I'm done. Biden, Barack Obama, they set up this thing where they can arrest you for anything and hold you. And Trump ain't even used it. And it teaches you like a beat down dog, dude. I'm being backed into a corner, and everybody that in America that are citizens, I don't care what party you are, you're being backed into a corner, put up against your neighbor, put up against your fellow man, and the people in the Supreme Court are like, let's do one more thing to help destroy America. Let's rewrite the Constitution without having to rewrite the Constitution by saying it doesn't matter. See, when I was a kid, multiple times they tried to bring out digital currency. They tried to bring out the mark of the beast, and now they're doing it again. I did not vote for a digital currency. I don't want a digital currency that the government can touch. I want a currency that I can hold in my hand and the government can't touch it unless the police show up and say, oh, well, we have no drug charges on you, but we think you're a drug dealer, so we're going to take your money. That's exactly what we have now. Exactly what we have now. And there is nothing anyone can do about it unless we attack the people that are doing it. And then those people will run to the side and say, oh, I'm a victim. As the powerful, these people are criminals and racists and attack us for no reason other than tell America that you'll be what the fuck we say you're going to be. That is our politics now. It's my opinion. I don't know what you guys' opinions are, but that's mine. That is America. I sit and I get drowned out and I get tired and I try to do other things and it's like, oh, I wonder what's going on in the news today. And then I jump on and then it's like scroll, brain rot. Nothing more, just brain rot. I go to work on a car and I'm listening to Tim Pool, and he makes everything doomsy, like Alex Jones. I love my guy. I listen to him in the morning too, but everything's fucking doomsy. I can't sit here and say, like, okay, the Iran war, I support it. Blow them up. I support Persia. The people. Not the fucking terrorists. The people. If we take over the oil, which we had 46% of that oil in the 80s, and then the Iran terrorists took over, okay, and we lost it. We have Venezuela oil, but we still have massive prices. And then you hear, oh, well, Trump's going to send in the people to figure out why they're not lowering the prices since we have abundance of oil. And then you hear nothing about it. But then everyone bitches and moans. And it's aggravating. Like on the real, it's very aggravating. But anyways, it's been a minute since I've done a video, so let's have fun. And while we're listening to this guy, I will look for the other live stream for the Roosevelt Library. All right, here we go. Oh. I guess I should probably
Campaign
unmute
promise, and he delivered.
New York's rents are now frozen.
What is that?
And here's what
Mayor
happens
Mamdani
next.
made a campaign promise, and he delivered. Here's what worries me. When you freeze rent, you don't freeze anything else.
Oh, yeah?
You don't freeze everything else, that's for sure. You don't freeze insurance. You don't freeze water bills. You don't freeze labor costs. You don't freeze the price of replacing a boiler, fixing a roof, or repairing an elevator. And you definitely don't freeze property taxes.
Oh.
Those bills keep going up.
Oh.
So what happens? Well, for a lot of small landlords, not giant corporations, but the immigrant family that owns a 6-family building or the retired couple that owns an apartment house, they have to make impossible choices.
Oh, like what?
Do they postpone repairs?
Oh.
Do they leave apartments vacant because they can't afford to renovate them? Or do they sell? Eventually, fewer apartments are available. And when supply goes down, guess what happens? Market rate rents go up.
Oh, so rents are gonna go up. And the city itself owns a building where Mayor Mamdani's the landlord. And guess what's happening over there?
The New York Knicks came back from a 30-point deficit in the finals, which is interesting because that's the exact percentage the mayor of New York City is raising the rents on the residents of these buildings behind me. So what's going on? This is Tracy Towers in the Bronx. It's an 871-unit Mitchell-Lama project built with the help of government to provide affordable middle-class housing. And when I say help, I mean a lot of help in the form of cash. HPD gave these buildings $148 million loan back in 2016. That's $170,000 per apartment in debt. Current rents in Tracy Towers don't cover the loan payments and the operating costs.
You can't afford it.
Each apartment is losing about $100 a month. The math doesn't work, so the Mamdani administration is raising rents.
I thought we were freezing rents. Well, we are, just on apartments owned by those greedy capitalists. When the socialists own the apartment, go ahead and jack it up because we have to. We're not greedy. Oh, no. But it gets worse.
Let's compare Tracy Towers with this building right here. The rents are about the same.
I gotta say though, since I have a headset on, I hear a lot of this guy's video, the shorts videos background. It sounds weird.
Debt here is far less, but the property taxes are so high, the apartments here also lose about $100 a month. The math doesn't work on both buildings, but the mayor is going to freeze the rents on this privately owned building and raise the rents on this building that the government controls. And if this privately owned building goes bankrupt and the government takes it over and the math doesn't work, guess what they're going to do? Raise the rent.
Oh, so what this reveals is that we've got a scheme going on here in New York to make everybody poor and confiscate all the private property at the exact same time. Things will not get more affordable here at all. And that's not a campaign promise, that's a nightmare.
Ironically, a policy that's supposed to lower housing costs can actually make it harder for the next generation of New Yorkers to find an affordable
Because there won't be any.
Economists have repeatedly warned that rent freezes can reduce housing supply and discourage investment in rental housing. Here's another irony.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's basically no one's going to be building any homes. That's the crux of it. No one's going to build any homes. And I'll be hard pressed to find out that a lot of the landlords that have a lease and then that lease ends, they decide never to lease it out again. And if it was me personally, I would destroy the home so no one could do anything about it.
Nearly a third of rent-stabilized apartments are occupied by house.
See, where I'm at, that right there is very dangerous. Right there. That is such a hazard that it's retarded. Because if that's leaking, that's in your house. These are supposed to be outside, not indoors. That's in your house right there.
Households making over $100,000 a year.
Yeah, they don't
So
need it.
this isn't really targeting help for struggling families. It's a benefit attached to the apartment, not the person.
And what that means is that this whole scheme to freeze rents basically bought 2 million votes for the mayor of New York and the socialists that they can now do whatever they want with. It's pretty hard to vote against a politician that's paying you to stay in your own home, isn't it?
Meanwhile, the young couple looking for their first apartment, the teacher moving here for work, the police officer, the nurse,
Nope.
they get squeezed even more because there are fewer apartments available.
Thank you.
And here's something that almost nobody else is talking about, but this whole thing may wind up in court.
Oh.
I promise you this, everybody, that Hitler, when he burned down the Reichstags or whatever it was, and became chancellor and all that good stuff, we're probably going to have something similar to that in New York City.
Oh.
One of the rent guidelines.
We're too big of a country for it to happen around our country, but they're going to try to take over a lot of areas. A lot of areas.
Board members actually resigned before the vote, saying the outcome had already been decided and questioning whether the process was independent.
It wasn't.
If a court overturns this, then what? Everyone gets jerked around again? Now, I don't believe landlords should get a blank check.
So the thought is, what if this goes all the way to the Supreme Court? Because you're not supposed to make someone's personal property worthless in capitalist America. That's anti-American. It's happened here in New York. There will be court challenges. This is going to work its way up the ladder. It very well may take years, but he may.
Not only that, I mean, I just looked it up on Grok because sometimes I like Grok, you know. And check this out. I asked it, very simple, do we have a socialist act? It says yes, oh wait. Fucking Grok. You know what, Social Security, bastard.
Makes a good point. What happens next? If it's struck down, rent regulation, that would actually be a good thing because then there are an estimated 60,000 of these vacant rent stabilized homes that nobody can live in that would suddenly come back on the market, which would really help the city out. We keep talking about building affordable housing. Well, we got all these houses that are already built. They just need to be renovated so somebody can live in them. But the money to renovate them doesn't exist because the apartment can only earn this much and it costs this much to fix the place up. This is like idiot-proof math, but for some reason the socialists don't get it. Look what they're saying about math. Watch this.
And we raise taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers instead of taking more from those with the least. Throughout this process,
I would fire everybody if I had a business in New York. I would terminate all contracts, everything. Nobody will work whatsoever. I would prevent any food from going into the city. Any. I would prevent all of it. Everything that you think you're going to get. I would stop it all. And I don't understand how you can sit there and say it's a money hub anymore. I could have sworn all those people were leaving.
I've been reminded of the words of the Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek. If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. If these past months have shown us anything, it is that socialists not only understand economics, just as...
Yes, you sure do. We need money. We have no money. Oh, Governor, you gotta send New York money. We're broke. We can't pay nobody. We're broke. Oh, the snow is so high. We can't even pay the people to shovel the snow out of the street. We have to have your cars. Because there's no one to take the snow out of the street. Because we shut it down. We have rats in the street. We can't do anything without your money, America. Look at me. I'm a young, foreign-born dreamer of socialism.
As well as the capitalists who came before, but that we can solve their years of mismanagement through an embrace of our principles.
Yeah, so the mayor understands how this all works. He gets it. He's smarter than the capitalists, even though we're walking into a total nightmare here.
Why the opposition to this?
The opposition is because this is an artificial affordability program without accounting for costs. It's not that we don't acknowledge the affordability crisis in New York. It's very real. It's the reason why we also support the city PEP's expansion, which the mayor is against. So we talk
That's
about
the housing voucher program,
Exactly.
and that's another hot topic right now.
Exactly. That is how you help tenants in need, not by just forcing property owners to somehow operate housing at a revenue cap, but then give them all the expenses that every single housing provider has to deal with. Property taxes, insurance, water, sewer, labor, utilities. That is not housing that will be sustainable. That is not housing that will be quality. We are subjecting tenants to bankrupt buildings.
Let's break down what actually happened. So effectively, this is a board that controls the price increase or no increase of about 1 million units of housing about 2 million New Yorkers. Those stats are right?
Correct.
Okay, and they've said over the next, if you want to be offered a 1-year lease and you're in this program, it's at 0%. Even a 2-year lease is offered at 0%.
2 years.
That 2-year portion, that's the unprecedented part of what happened, right?
Absolutely. It's unprecedented for a 1 and a 2 year, but it's also unprecedented given where we are today. People have to understand this housing didn't fall into disrepair this year or last year. It has been failing for the better part of a decade now. That Rent Guidelines Board has come in under...
Fine, it's been failing. Okay. But you guys are the ones that made your brick buildings fail. You, not me. I live out in the countryside. And there's very, very little problems that I have to worry about. If the power goes out, I got me EcoFlows and solar panels to bring in power. And I got EcoFlows to run everything. It may not be set up to the house, but it needs the whole house to go. I can still get on the webs.
inflation for 10 years.
So here's the other thing nobody's talking about with rent freezes in New York. Right now, landlords are getting 0. Is that historic? Yes. But every other time when there has been any of these votes on what the rents are in these regulated apartments, these votes have always wound up with landlords getting a 2% raise here, a 3% raise here, and we're talking about a...
And that is a pretty bad thing, considering the fact that you shouldn't have to raise the rent. Because, I mean, you get everything from a hardware store. And if you signed in the contract that the tenant is responsible for the maintenance of the house, then you avoid all of these problems all the way around.
Apartments that are $800 a month, $500 a month, some are $1,000 a month. So if your rent's $1,000 a month and you get hit with a 2% increase, you can get yourself a couple Chipotle burritos a month extra. That's not affordability. Things haven't gotten magically more affordable for people in New York because there's a 0% rent increase. If your rent's $1,000 and it goes up to $1,020, it's already super affordable. Talk to the guy paying $5,000 a month about affordability. And remember, some of the people living in these rent-stabilized homes are making 6-figure incomes. The mayor...
I gotta say, dude, I have no idea that I mean, unless you're like making, like you said, 6 figures, $5,000 a month. Damn, might as well just build a house at that point.
Himself used to live in a rent-stabilized home. I used to live in a rent-stabilized home. People have these apartments who don't need frozen rent.
Those decisions compound. That's how you get deferred maintenance. That's how you push these repairs off.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have one of the most impactful laws in 2019 that really defunded this housing. Layer that on with all the cost increases that I referenced a little bit earlier. Let's get specific. The water board, Mayor Mamdani's water board, is going to increase water rates 6% starting July 1st. Property taxes for rent-stabilized buildings, past 5 years, have doubled. Let's talk about the insurance. Mamdani himself has acknowledged the insurance crisis is completely destroying housing.
And that's
across the
one
city.
area where he has done some focus intended to benefit landlords. He's trying to pool insurance, as I understand, to make it easier.
He's acknowledged the problem, and yes, he's pushing forward a program, but it's a pilot program. by their own metrics, it would cover maybe 20,000 apartments in the next few
Yeah,
years.
there's 2 million.
There's 1 million rent stabilized units, so it's just not enough. And you can't sit there and say we can provide a rent freeze for 2 years and then maybe we'll give you some assistance down the line and expect this housing to be high quality.
No, that's
What
not
do you
going to
say
happen.
to tenants?
The crazy thing is this whole water board. Listen to this. The New York City Water Board has officially approved a 6% rate increase. So the amount of water that travels into these apartments that have regular rent or frozen rent doesn't matter. All the water now costs 6% more. And who pays for that? Well, that's the landlord. Landlords have to pay for hot water, cold water, and heat in many of these apartments.
Which is bullshit, because they should be putting that on top of the rent. Especially if it goes up for them, it should go up for the person. And if you can't afford it, then get the fuck out of New York City. Go off into, the outer areas, the next district over, next city over. Start a life there.
And this is just another tax. It's just the government putting its hand in the pocket of these landlords while telling them they're not allowed to earn any more money. This whole thing is a disaster. And this is why raising rates, insurance, cost of labor, water rates, that's why the mayor's raising the rents in his own apartments.
And I've interviewed a number of them, I'm sure you've heard from a number of them that just say, hey, my roof's caving in, my lobby hasn't been updated in forever. Why the heck should I?
If someone's roof is caving in, dude, then I would just get the fuck out of Dodge. And since if my place is now in a rent freeze, I would be like, oh, well, I'm going to tear it the fuck down. And it will be an empty lot.
I have a rent increase.
I completely understand their frustration and what they have.
I personally, if I was the many landlords out in that area, I would just start just investing. And since I know I can't sell that place to a person, I would just destroy it. Be done with it. And sell it to a freaking person that will, or just have an empty lot and just pay taxes on it once a year. And say, oh yeah, I'll build as soon as we get rid of the socialist mayor. You can't force me to do anything with my land.
To understand is the cost to operate this housing is completely unsustainable and at no fault of the property owners. There are so many costs that government itself controls. I hate to be repetitive, but property taxes is at the control of government. Utilities, the government's regulations would influence the cost there.
Right.
When you talk about insurance, the mayor is trying to influence that. So all of these costs get baked in on top of tons of regulation that comes from city council. Well intended, but they do not fund these measures. So when you continue push up these costs, but then the government says you can only charge X amount, that money gets siphoned out to government and it doesn't exist and fund your building. And that is why these buildings are seeing broken elevators, you're seeing roofs that need repairs. You just don't have enough funding to operate this private housing that is just regulated by government.
Let's talk about next steps. You and I spoke the other day.
Private housing regulated and destroyed by the government. What is this doing? It's making enemies of the person that lives in the apartment and the person who owns the building. The person who lives in the apartment, they wake up every day and the place is a dump and they say, oh, my landlord's a slumlord. And the landlord says, well, I don't have the money to fix anything because everybody living in my building has capped rent. I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Why doesn't the government help me out? But nope, makes the landlord the enemy. And then what happens? Then the mayor comes out and says, oh, we're gonna start seizing buildings.
I guess I should unmute myself. Yeah, and that right there is bullshit. That right there should be running. I mean, landlords and people that own buildings, they should be in front of his fucking house, not letting them even go to work. Don't touch the little bitch, but don't let him go to work. And videotape it, live stream it, and when the cops come and touch you, touch them back. Yes, touch them back, because now they are socialism cops. They are the redcoats. They are the brown coats. They may be blue, but they are the enemy. Because cops are bitches if they don't follow the Constitution, and if they don't even fucking know it.
That are run by these.
These are not the same cops that were there for 9/11. These are the aftermaths, the ones that are like, I'm gonna take a paycheck. That's these cops.
Bad landlords. These landlords, they're so terrible. We're going to take away their property and we're going to run it ourselves. Well, we're seeing how that's going.
Ahead of the vote, when the writing was on the wall here about the potential of lawsuits, let me ask you the point blank question. Will your group bring a lawsuit?
Litigation is always a tool. We are always exploring it. And the reality is you had a sitting member of the Rent Guidelines Board who has gone through this process, resign in protest yesterday, and put out a letter stating that this process is completely influenced by the mayor. She has said that this is a theatrical process, that this cake was baked in order to deliver the freeze that he's been calling for a year. So that really calls into question the independence of this board. It calls into question the process of this board. How is it so that the government can look at all the data, all the numbers that I have laid out, the acknowledgement that the mayor has made in these cost increases, and somehow the conclusion is it's 0% for 1 and 2 years is going to produce the housing results we all want?
Let me end by asking you what...
It's impossible. And what's so crazy about this, the mayor promised during his campaign that he was going to freeze the rent. This was his campaign promise. However, rent freezes and increases, decreases, there are never decreases. Those are determined by this rent stabilized board, which is apparently independent. Right here, you're gonna roll Mamdani talking about the independence of the board.
It's time the city brings some stability to you. And we're so excited that the Rent Guidelines Board decided to freeze the rent, not just for 1 year, but for the first time in New York City history for 2 years.
But the mayor gets to pick who is on the board that determines whether or not he can keep his campaign promises. Who do you think he's putting on the board? People who want to see a rent increase in line with inflation, or people who don't? Get easy. It's so easy to figure out that this process is rigged and is on purpose, and the whole fact that they even had meetings and debates was a waste of time because everybody knew the answer.
I like to call my magic wand question. So you highlighted a number of problems. You're in disagreement with the mayor and a number of other politicians here. If you could wave a magic wand, what's the best solution for both tenants and landlords here?
I'm glad you asked, because there is a solution that is actually win-win-win across the board. Hard to believe. But we have to look at other rent control systems across the country. All of them have never dared to do what we do here, which is that 2019 rent law that implemented vacancy control. What they allow is for a reset upon turnover. That allows a property owner to invest in the unit and bring it back as a rent stabilized unit. That is how you protect in-place tenants on their rents today. That is how you fund housing without government intervention or subsidy or cost. And that is how you bring new supply, which we all acknowledge is how you bring rents down across the board. There are 60,000 apartments empty right now in rent stabilized housing that could be housing families. And yet government policy prevents those.
Right, 60,000 empty units that nobody can touch. Now, my solution would be free market housing everywhere. Why should we have regulated rents in a world where the city jacks up the price that landlords have to charge anyways? Why would you regulate rents when it's totally unfair to even do that? And knowing that once you regulate something like this, less people want to get in on the action. We should be doing everything we can in New York to bring people into the housing market and to get new buildings built. There is no reason to have empty plots of land throughout the city that nobody can build anything in. These empty plots of land could house families too. If buildings were built there, we could do way better than 60,000 empty apartments. We've got hundreds of thousands of potential apartments that haven't even been built yet because we won't allow it to happen. And because if these things do get built, every time there's a new project that comes up, you know what happens? These same politicians, these same communists, they get in and they say, oh, we're not gonna approve this. We don't wanna have a building built there. There's not enough affordable housing. It's not regulated enough. It's gonna make too much money, so they don't want it. Well, guess what? Once everybody starts building something, once everybody starts doing something, it doesn't make too much money. Yeah, the first people who get in, they're the ones that are gonna make all the money. But once everybody's doing it, it becomes a commodity. If you wanna take the profit out of housing, make it a commodity. Make it something that is easy to do in New York City. Make it something that everybody is doing. That'll bring down prices. The worst thing for a landlord that's got a bunch of $5,000 average rent apartments who's making bank because he doesn't have any stabilized units, the worst thing for that guy is a new building across the street because now he's got to compete. He doesn't have to compete with anybody in a housing crisis where these buildings don't exist. Build new buildings, you're gonna bring down prices big time. You're gonna make it affordable for people to actually live in this city, but that's not what we wanna do, is it?
But there's a smarter solution. If the mayor really wants affordability, freeze property tax assessments, at least on rent stabilized buildings. Think about it. Property taxes are one of the biggest expenses apartment owners face. Reduce that pressure and you reduce the pressure to raise rents. You help tenants, you help responsible landlords, you encourage maintenance, and you preserve housing instead of shrinking it. Reforming the property tax burden on multifamily buildings has been proposed as a way to improve affordability and encourage rental housing.
You can propose whatever you want to a socialist, but socialists never cut. They never reduce anything. They never reduce the amount of stuff they spend money on, and they never reduce the amount of money that they're taking from people who earn money. So there will be no tax cuts. Tax cuts don't happen under socialism. We were told by Mamdani when he ran that, oh, he's going to come in, he's going to change around the taxes, the deck is rigged, so he's going to rig it in favor of the little guy. But all we got was a tax on the second homes of millionaires and billionaires with a threat to raise taxes on middle-class homeowners. Nobody got a cut. But they are cutting things in New York. They are. They sure are. Wait till you hear what those are. Tell me if you're surprised.
I noticed that the budget doesn't appear to include any increased numbers for NYPD headcount. Can you explain the rationale for that?
Yes.
No
so
new cops.
I've been talking to all agency heads about ways to find savings, and Commissioner Tisch and I were able to identify ways to keep the NYPD headcount at the originally authorized 35,000 while also meeting all of our crime-fighting needs and implementing the new programs that were announced earlier this year.
So New York just passed a historic budget, and it's $126 billion to run the city for 1 year. And guess who got no money? The police. So we do cut things in New York. We do. Only if they're things that our socialist overlords do not agree with.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Kelly.
I wanted to ask you, what's been holding up the budget from what I'm hearing has been the city FEPS fight. You on the campaign promised to expand this program. Why did this come to the final moment if this has been a priority for members of the progressive?
I mean, the problem that I'm seeing is, again, everything that he's doing is to destroy New York City. And in that point, Americans will flee New York City, and then migrants will get out. Now, Trump needs to go back in and start arresting illegals and getting them out, and I'm not going to change my mind on that. Mamdani, whatever, has already said he's going to do everything he can to prevent ICE or NICE to go in there and get them illegals out. And I'm not sure how come they're not arresting them. And that is another reason that foreigners and shit like that should not be allowed to run for governor, mayor, Congress, anything. I don't care if the person that is in governor loves America and believes that America needs to stay America. If you are not born here, you should not be in any state of power.
Caucus, who are supposedly your allies, why did it have to come
I know
to
why.
the 11th or 12th hour?
I'm proud that the Speaker and I and all of our teams were able to come to an agreement that, as the Speaker said, is a win for all New Yorkers. And I've been clear about my support for this program, my support for the intent of delivering for the neediest New Yorkers. And what we announced today is a $175 million investment in.
I call bullshit. It ain't going to go to the neediest New Yorkers. It's going to go to the neediest migrant.
To helping those very New Yorkers stay in their homes. And we're also announcing that while resolving a lawsuit that the prior administration had little interest in negotiating, and frankly, even less.
This is what they're talking about. These are vouchers for apartments in New York City through the city FEPS system, which all the progressives wanted, but which Mayor Mamdani does not want for some reason. But now they're not going to expand this program anymore. And you want to know why? The voucher program took money and paid for market rate apartments. So you had landlords who would gladly accept tenants that had a voucher from the city because they were able to pay market rate and they would get a well-maintained unit and the person wouldn't have to pay anything but too much profit. So why would we expand a system that is just going to help landlords? The mayor didn't want to do this. He's got other ways of providing affordable housing, like freezing rent for people making $200,000 a year. Great. Smart idea. I wonder where this is gonna, we know where this is gonna go. We know that this is just gonna increase the number of people who have trouble finding a place to live in New York City because nobody's gonna move out. Why would you move out of a place with frozen rent? You're not gonna do that. You're gonna stay put as long as you absolutely can. And since rents are frozen, you're signaling to anybody and everybody that could come here and build anything that you can build it, but you don't own it. The city owns it, and they're gonna tell you what to do with it. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.